Hello, I'm RPG, and like everyone else on the internet forever, I'm going to be making a Kerbal Space Program video playlist, sorry. Um, Basically, I'm going to be sending a station, in theory, all the way to Jool, and it's going to be equipped with a bunch of probes, two landers, and a rover unit. And the idea came to me because one of my friends suggested I make this as a video series after I told him I was doing this, because I only very recently discovered the wonderful joys of interplanetary travel and also how to dock in space, which has been quite fortuitous into learning how to do that. So one thing I will say right off the bat is I'm sorry that this video is essentially Nocturne's favourite thing forever. I figured I'd do a night launch because I was too lazy to just time speed and wait for day, because I thought it would be daytime by the time I'm all set up on my orbit, it'll be fine. It's not the case. So I endeavour to actually launch in the middle of the day next time. But all I'm doing in this video is I'm just launching up the booster stage that I'm going to use to get the station, hopefully, onto its trajectory path with Jool. This has also got one of the landers attached to the top of it, but that's all really so far. This launcher stage that's sending it up at the moment, it's not going to reach orbit with it. One thing I will say as well is I'm by no means particularly good at this game. I know how to dock, I know how to do interplanetary maneuvers. I've done quite a lot in it, but I'm by no means actually good at it. My rocket is probably hilariously inefficient, and there will be numerous other issues with it aside from that, no doubt. For example, this launcher stage, it can't reach orbit alone. I will be using some of the fuel that I intend to use to fly to Jool with. I'm going to fix that though by just docking with it before I fly off to refuel it in midair, because now that I know how to dock, it's not too much of an issue anymore. So what I'm doing at the moment is I am going to set this up in a circular orbit at about 120 kilometers above Kerbal. At 120, I know the angles that I need Jool at, and I need my ship at to fly there. And I also find 120 kilometers to be a good orbit for a station, because it means that when I'm trying to rendezvous with it, I set up at 100 kilometers, which is easy enough. I could have done it at 100 kilometers and have the things that I need to rendezvous with it at 80, but I like having the extra margin for error, so I'm doing it at 120. So I've just left the launcher stage behind, and I boosted a little along here. I didn't want my apologise to hit 103. I was aiming for about 90, and then I was going to boost upwards to it. So a little bit of time acceleration goes around, and I actually cocked this orbit a bit up as I'm going around to it, but I did end up fixing it, and it came out a lot closer than I was expecting it to, so silver linings. So the next video after this one, it's probably all going to be quite short videos. This one's only like 8.5 minutes long, and the next one will probably be about that. Possibly even shorter, because I won't be showing the launch and actually setting up the orbit part. It'll just be the rendezvous and moving things around. So I'm going to go along to my apophysis, which, because I'm still in the atmosphere, is drag it down to 100, which isn't too bad, all things considered. I can now do the proper time warp because I'm out of the atmosphere to catch up to it a bit quicker, which I eventually do realise. So yeah, the next video will be me launching up the station core and moving that into position. Next video after that, I'll probably send up a bunch of crew to hop into the storage container on the station core and do some refueling. I haven't actually built the rover that I'll be using yet, but I will do that before I actually record it. I don't plan to record me actually building the rockets, because I imagine that's kind of dull. And I mean, for example, the launcher stage is literally just mainsail engines and rocket max tanks attached to the bottom of it, and that's it. It's not exciting. My lander stage is probably very inefficient as well, especially with its parachute placement and that sort of thing. But it works, and I've tested it, so same for the booster stage. Which eventually, when I meet up with this in the day, you'll actually be able to see it. It's just a mainsail engine attached to roughly 10 of the long white fuel tanks that I can't quite remember the name of. I know the fact that it's a mainsail engine probably makes it hideously inefficient, but it's fast, and I want to be able to boost quickly for getting into my trajectory with Jool, so it doesn't really matter too much. The station itself does have an engine, so when I actually run out of fuel with sort of the mainsail engine, I can swap to that, and it's a much more fuel efficient engine, which is fine. So I'm just trying to get my orbit up now, and that's at 120 on one side, so now I just time accelerate around to it. Sorry, on the apoapsis. I believe it is the apoapsis as the furthest point, I think. But I'll be time accelerating around to that, and then bringing up my periapsis, and this is the part that I screwed up. One of the things I was going to say, but before I got sidetracked, was, as I said, I'm by no means good at this game. For example, I don't actually know what the delta V of my ship is, or the actual delta V that I need to get to it. I just know the speed I need to accelerate towards, and that in theory it should be capable of managing it. Like as I said, I very recently reached Jool with a ship that's extremely similar to the one I'll be launching. The difference is this one has a hitchhiker storage container, a bunch of scientific instruments and solar panels, and it has a three-way docking rig for the two landers, whereas previously it just had the lander attached to it. But the setup with the docking ports meant that I could only thrust at half speed for the first stage, and because I'm an idiot, the other engine was technically on backwards on the second Rocket Max fuel tank, so that I had to thrust in the opposite direction towards all of my maneuver nodes, and that was complicated and horrible. But I did eventually get to Jool and get in orbit, and I think get it in orbit. I mean, I left the lander stage in orbit because that was all that was left by the time I got there, and it currently has almost no fuel, and both of the probes that were attached to it I demounted in panic because I thought I was going to crash into Jool as I was skimming through its atmosphere. But the less said that about that, the better. So I think this is the part where I just fudged my orbit, and it was 4 kilometers out on one side compared to the other. Based on the nav ball, yes it is. So I'm now bringing it in to thrust in the opposite direction, and in theory to bring it as close as I possibly can. And this went a lot better than I expected, to be honest. I got it much closer than I'm used to. And looking at it now, I haven't actually looked at what sort of inclination my orbit's on, but it looks fairly flat, which shouldn't be too much of a problem, because my space station that you can see floating around on the right, that's the first space station I ever launched, and that's on sort of a 3 or 4 degree inclination at certain points, which made rendezvousing with it a bit tricky, to say the least. It just meant that I had to burn more monopropellant than I'm used to in either catching up with it, or in a lot of the cases actually just using my the lander to push it along towards it. So this is the rocket. It's in space, and you can't see shit on it, unfortunately. It's in its more or less perfectly circular orbit now, and in the next video I will be bringing up the station core and doing a little bit of refueling and moving things around. So I will see you next time.